Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Timwe Presents. Today we're looking at a puzzle called Rotation Translation by Cloud Gaming, which is part of the KTANE puzzle Plethora. As you can see, there are some numbers here and there are some dots. Now unfortunately I'm not able to present you with a live solve today. I've already solved the puzzle with many hints. So I'm just going to walk you through how it works. However, there is an interesting surprise for you, so stick around. So first of all, what do? We have a bunch of numbers. So I guess the first thing that I want to do is to put those numbers in a spreadsheet and see what I can do with them. So let's first get rid of all of these dots. Put a new line here and put them all one under another. Alright, so now we have a bunch of numbers. What do we do with these numbers? So whenever you're stuck like this, and you just have a bunch of numbers or letters or something and you don't know what to do, look around. The title and the flavor text may give a hint. So in this case, it's the title that gives the hint. It says rotation, but we're actually looking for a word that is kind of similar to rotation. And given that the flavor text mentions a phone, you might already have an idea what this is hinting at. Pause the video if you want to take a guess. And here's the answer. We're looking at rotary phone. Okay, so if we look at rotary phone, we will notice that the rules say that the display will show 3 numbers, which, all of them are 3-digit numbers. I mean, it says 16 and 36 here, but in the puzzle there's a leading 0, so it's fine. And then you're supposed to add the new number to the old one and take the 3 least significant digits. Now that immediately also explains why the first row here has 2 numbers, because this is the starting number, and then you're supposed to add something to it to get the first actual number that we're going to do something with Okay, so let's just put that number here, I guess, and then add this and this throughout the entire thing. Okay, now obviously this takes us beyond 1000, so we actually need to modulo this by 1000, which is the same as taking the last 3 digits, and then we get this. Now, if you pay very close attention, you will notice that there isn't a single 1 in any of these numbers, except for the number that is given at the top. And in fact, it turns out there isn't a 2 either, although that may just be a coincidence. Alright, so what is the next thing to do, and what do these dots even mean? Alright, well, let's do what we did before, which is, so this time I'm going to get rid of the digits, right? And then let's once again, okay, so now we have all these groups of dots. Now, what do dots usually mean? Dots can represent tapping or something. And the flavor text says, how do you type on this phone? Now, if you're as old as me, which most of you probably aren't, you may remember that back in the day, typing on a phone involved a keypad which has letters on it. So you can press a certain number of times, and that will give you letters. Okay, so what the puzzle is asking you to do is to press the digits that we got from the addition, so we start here with the 746, this many times, 3 times, and then 3 times, and then 2 times. So let's do that. So I'm going to replace all of the quadruple dots with 4s, all of the triple dots with 3s, all of the double dots with 2s, and then all of the single dots with 1s, and then all of the spaces with tabs, so that I can copy and paste the whole thing into 3 separate columns in the spreadsheet. And I actually want that 1 cell down because the top row here isn't part of the values that we need. Okay, so here we want to press this digit this many times. What letter do we get when we do that? In order to do this in the spreadsheet, I'm quickly going to add a table up here. So looking at the phone keypad, we can see that, let me just open the image, we can see that number 1 doesn't have any letters, so it starts at the number 2, and that would explain why there aren't any 1s in here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 0, I guess. But the 0 doesn't occur anyway, except again in the first one. And you'll notice that the 0 is usually used for a space, but it turns out this one doesn't have any spaces, so let's just remove that. Okay, so if we press it once, we get an A, and then twice we get a B, and 3 times we get a C. So let's put A, B, C here, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, and now this one is the first one where you have 4 different letters, so you can press the 7 up to 4 times. And then we have T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That one also has 4 letters. Alright, so here we want to look up the letter in this table. Right, how do we do this? Well, let's see. We want to use the indirect command, and I'm going to use the column row notation, the R1C1. Alright, so which row are we looking at? The row is the number of times that we press it, so this, but plus 1 because our table starts in row 2 instead of row 1. Okay, and then we want a column. The column would in this case be given by the first digit here, and indeed number 2 is in column 2, so it's literally that. So it's going to be the mid of that at position 1 and 1 character. Alright? So now here I'm going to put false so that I can use the R1 thingy notation. Okay, so that gives us some letters, so that's what we get from the first digits. Now let's do the rest with the other digits. So in fact, let me make all of this a bit narrower so we can see this a bit better. And let me also center everything. That might look a bit neater. Okay, so if I copy this over, I will need to change this to a 2, and this obviously is still C7. Yeah, but this one will have changed. So, whoop, that gives me an R. That gives me 2 R's. That doesn't look right. If the second digit here is a 4, and I press that 3 times, I should be getting an I. So let's see what we're doing wrong. Okay, row is correct. This should be B8. Yeah, okay, I did that wrong. Alright, so that gives us a few more letters. And then we do the same thing again, so change that back to B. And change that to a 3. There we go. Okay. Okay, so let's see what this says. If we read this in reading order, it says ring up 5053. Let's write that down. 5053. 983462. That looks very much like a phone number, and it tells us to ring it up. So let's actually do that. Okay, here we are. We're going to use Skype to call this phone number. Now I'm going to have to put +1 in front of this, which is the international dialing code for North America, because I'm not in North America. So let's paste that number here, call the phone number, and see what happens.
Thank you for calling. The digital images we currently offer are composer, football team, computer, band, composer, band, roast dinner, band, composer, Porsche.
Okay, so we got a number of phrases here, and if you've paid attention, then you will notice these are all photos from the iPhone manual, right? But you will also have noticed that some of these phrases have been sort of repeated, and I didn't write down how many times it was repeated. That's because I'm not that fast a typist. I needed all that time to type these up. So I'm going to call the same number again, and this time we'll find out how many times each is said. Here we go.
Thank you for calling. The digital images we currently offer are composer, football team, computer, band, composer, band, roast dinner, band, composer, Porsche.
Okay, I hope I got all of these numbers right. I'm not entirely sure about all of these, but let's try them out. So in the iPhone, each of these pictures is obviously associated with a number. So let's change all of the occurrences of composer to 4, right? Because that is a 4. So this becomes a 4, this becomes a 4, and in fact, instead of erasing this, I think I'm going to insert another column to write this down, just so that I don't lose the information. Okay, so that's a 4. And then football team, which is over here, that's a 7. And then computer, that would be this one, that's a 2. And that's the only one. Band is here, that's an 8. And then the roast dinner is a 9. And finally the Porsche, which is here, is a 3. Right, now what did we do to get these letters? Right, we basically pressed a certain number of times on the phone keypad. So let's do the same thing again. We're going to press this number this many times. So I'm going to use the same formula here. And this time the row that we're looking at is Lima 10. So that would be Lima 10. And the column we want is it's going to be Lima 10 plus 1. Yeah, it already says plus 1, right? And the column is, of course, this number here, where in this case we don't need the mid thing anymore. We'll just put that there, and we get G. And aha, so apparently I made a mistake here. This should have been a 3, and we get the solution, gravity tie. Alright, we can verify this answer by using the answer code. Check answer, gravity tie, and that is indeed the correct answer. Thank you very much for watching. This was Rotation Translation from the KTANE puzzle Plethora, and I hope that you enjoyed this puzzle, because I think that was a really great idea to use rotary phone and iPhone and then to actually have to call a phone number. That was quite amazing. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time when we may have another puzzle for you here at TimWe Presents.